All right, it's working. Alrighty guys, today I'm going to replace the air compressor on the Mistress. You can't even see it, it's way back in there. So the truck's got over 900,000 on it and the compressor's working fine, but I mean that is like the OG compressor. And this is the governor back here. I've already replaced that, so but just for maintenance reasons we're going to replace the compressor, which I guess down there you see that barcode also drives the fuel pump on the back of it. And then in the front there's an adapter gear, which I will show you when I get it out, that off the compressor gear drives the power steering pump. So all three are coming out today. Obviously we're going to start by get this out of our way. We're going to take throttle body off, hoses out, probably going to remove the reservoir, just try to create some room. So let's go. Alright, well now you can see it there easier. Amazing how much room you get when you take these charge pipes out. So do your guys a favor, when you get to these lines, you know, these hoses with all these connectors where it's crimped like that, when you take this loose, this needs to spin on this collar. And if your truck is older like mine, it's got some corrosion and stuff built up. So do yourself a favor before you go taking them off. Hit it with some WD or some PB Blaster and just let it kind of, sorry for the bad angle, and just let it soak in there so they'll spin on that collar easy. So that's the next thing we're going to do. This is the feed hose that runs over after the air filter. The compressor sucks its fresh air from. This is what they would call the hot side on the top. I'm going to take these pipes off, these hoses. I'm going to get a little greasy today. Take the reservoir off, open this up, and I believe you have to take this loose. I don't know if you have to take it out, but we're going to find out. Alrighty guys, let's keep going. You have to excuse the noise in the background. My dad's getting ready to leave, so his truck's running. So now we got it all exposed. Get the coolant reservoir off. Probably help if you took this bracket out, but I don't think we're gonna have to take it off to get it out of there. It's a pretty big hole, these lines move. We did take the dipstick tube, filler tube off. You see down there I got a rag crammed in the side of the block so nothing gets in there. You do have to take, if you have a 14-liter like this, 2008, has a screw-on fuel filter, as well as the regular, you have to take that off to get to the two bolts to take the filler tube off on the back side. So take that off, and then I did have the feed line that runs from the reservoir to the pump, but I had to take it off because you have to kind of bend, not bend, but is a wrong word, but turn down the dipstick tube to get it to come out of the block. So we got that off. We got the what would be the outlet. So this is where your inlet fuel line goes, up here. Okay, and then the outlet runs from back of the pump down to the top of the filter housing right here. You have to take that off, and to get a wrench on that, I had to take this, you see that right there, the tip that the line connects to, you had to take that out of the top to get the bottom line off, because there's this bracket back here, these two bolts here and these two bolts here, and you can't get that bolt out. You can barely get your finger through there, and then there's another bolt on the side. So it's just going to be easier, like I said, to take this off, then take that bracket off, and then start taking the pump out. Of course, we took the feed air line off, pump side, and then the two lines that run from the EGR cooler here, there's two coolant lines. Here's one sitting here, and it actually runs down to a pipe that goes across the front of the motor. Then the other one comes from this nipple here and feeds coolant to the top side of the air compressor. So that's where we're at now. Take the pump off that bracket and then start taking the bolts out for the compressor and wiggle that big son of a bitch out of there. We'll return. All right, it is out of there. Let me remove my little coolant deflector. So there's the hole. This is one of those coolant lines that comes off of here and goes to the top of the compressor. I had to put some plastic around there. And there's the, I can't see, the lighting's not good. There's the gear that it rides on. But yeah, that's a big hole, guys. Look at that. You gotta get in here and clean all this up stuff before we go back together. But I wanted to let y'all know, you can tell that rag down there, okay, is where the filler tube comes out. The dipstick tube, filler tube, it all runs together, it goes into the side of the block right there. When you take these coolant lines off, this one here especially, if you don't drain the coolant, which I didn't because I just did the water pump and I didn't really want to lose that coolant. If I knew beforehand, I could have drained it and saved it, you know what I mean, filtered it. And also this line here, which runs across the front of the motor, and there's also a line that runs from here, and they both run up to right here, that base plate for the EGR valve. Anyway, this is gonna leak coolant, and it runs down, hits the side of the block, and it'll run right into where you fill your engine with oil. So be careful. I had just serviced this thing too, so actually when it wound up doing that, what I did is I grabbed that piece of plastic and I stuck under there and kind of acted as a deflector to drain it away from the engine, you know. And then I pulled the peacock off of the radiator and drained about 5 gallons of it before it stopped. So I will show y'all the new compressor next to the old one. We got to transfer some parts. All we gotta do now is we gotta transfer all these fittings off the back and the top over into the new one, and we will be good to go. And I think, I gotta look, but I think this is like an oil passage, goes into the compressor. So I want to make sure that that O-ring is in the block. So let's transfer some parts and start putting it back together. So as you can tell, we got the compressor in, we're well on our way. We got the fuel pump hooked back up. I'm replaced all of these lines, these coolant lines. There's 3 of them. So back here it goes to the block. Just got a few brackets left to put down, and I'm putting the new power steering pump in now. But what I wanted to show you guys, I didn't see in these other videos, is there's 2 gears, okay, that go, hopefully you saw that, that go inside of this big gear that's on this air compressor. And that gear on the air compressor is driven off of the big gears in the timing cover, okay. And then of course off the gear off of the back of the air compressor drives the fuel pump. But in here you have 2 gears that step down from that big gear down to a small gear this size here for your power steering pump. So when you go to set these back in, as you can see, this gear here has a bigger step up on one end than the other, okay. So this is how this gear goes in there, okay, with the bigger portion, the bigger teeth towards the back. So you just, and I went ahead and greased these up. There it goes. Okay. See? It's in there. All the way back. Nice and snug. Takes a little finagling, but this is the gear that I really wanted to show you guys. Okay. Obviously, here's the gear in here. And you would think that maybe it goes in this way. But that's actually that's the correct way. With the, I'm sorry, I was asked backwards. See, I don't know if you can tell. See that clip right there? Okay. If you put it in this way, your power steering pump runs up against that clip. Okay? And you won't get your power steering pump in. If you force it in, you'll just bust that clip and it winds up inside your timing cover. So it goes in with the flat part facing towards the cab of the truck. Okay? And the sprag goes out towards the outside. So that way your power steering gear shaft can slide into here. None of these have a master keyway, by the way. Okay. See how that... Hold on. Sorry, greasy fingers here in the GoPro. Okay. See how that sits in there nice and flush? So now that you have your two gears in, now you can set your new gasket and your new power steering pump. There is a paper gasket for this power steering pump. A lot of guys, it doesn't come with the pump, or it didn't when I bought it from Transwest. For spacing reasons, I would not use RTV. I would put the paper gasket on there like it's supposed to be from the factory, because you know that spaces the pump out that few thousandths that you may or may not need. So just for lack of problems, or to not run into unseen problems in spacing, I would put it back the way the factory wants it. So we're gonna get that on, get our hose on here, and then we're gonna prime the fuel system. There goes my phone. You can see I don't have, oh, I can't see. I don't have the fuel pump on yet, or I'm sorry, the fuel filter on yet. Fucking phone. When I go to prime that, you're gonna want to fill that filter all the way full. And then I'm hoping that will help in getting it started. So we'll come back at y'all on that one. Yep. Alrighty, so we are to the point where we're all buttoned up. We got our new power steering pump on, new high pressure line, fresh fluid, new cooling lines for the compressor, new wear governor that was replaced. New fuel filter. Let's see, get in here. See it? New fuel filter down there, which we filled all the way to the top. We've cycled the key a few times, tried to bleed them out of these two bleeders here. And so I put a little diesel in this filter as well. I guess there's nothing left to do but to do it, right? Michael, you stand here and hold the camera, okay? If you hear a boom or something catches on fire, no, that's not gonna happen. But feel free to say something if it does. Got the fuel valve turned on. Let's see what happens. Okay guys, so since it's being a pain in the ass and we're unable to prime it, we're going to give it a little juice with some starting fluid so we can suck some fuel up in there. And my dad's going to do that because he's done it a bunch, and he's going to give you all some tips on how to do this in case you're in the same predicament.
You start with very little of this. This is a $30,000 runaway diesel in this can right here. $30,000 mistake in this can if you don't do it right. There's really no right or wrong way to do it, but you just give it a little bit at a time, and I mean a little bit. So First time, he's gonna let everything click on and get ready to start. I'm gonna spray it. Don't crank it. Now, that's it. Do it again. Hit it.
I'm not going to be able to.
No, you're not. I'm leaving.
Okay, we're live. I'm going to share with y'all some important information that will save you so much time. We're going to do a full video on his truck. He's getting ready to do a compressor as well. You got to take the fuel pump off of his too. Now, there's no real good video on how to prime one of these without starting fluid. The one I saw, the guy used the starting fluid like we were in the air box, but because I think this was down for, you know, what, 3 days, and we lost every bit of fuel, it just had so much air in it. And without, you know, doing it here on the side of the house and not having the proper tools, the J tool, to pressurize that pump, or to go back under here and find out where it comes from the tank and stick it in a hose and all of that, this is what you do, guys. Get yourself a turkey baster, just a little turkey baster with a little needle on it. 2 gallons of diesel fuel, and then right in here, okay, I'm gonna put y'all in there. I don't know if you can see it, the lighting is horrible. Hold on, guys, I'm gonna try to hook y'all up with some light. Okay, you see that fitting? It's right there on top of that fuel pump, right? And that fuel pump bolts right to the back of that air compressor. And that's like the fitting for pressurizing the fuel system. Take that fitting out. It's in the very top of the pump where the inlet pipe comes into the pump. That's where the inlet pipe goes from the fuel tanks. And then from that pump, from this pump, it runs it down to the screw-on fuel filter, and then out of that filter comes in through right back in there. You can't see it. There's a line that goes into the fuel rail, which is underneath the rocker box cover. Take that fitting out, and we had to put about 6 syringes in it. You know what I'm saying? Fill it up 6 times, and it filled that pump full of diesel, and it pushed the air out of that inlet line, or out of that outlet line actually, that runs from the pump to the screw-on fuel filter. So, and then she fired right up. Well, I say she fired right up. 3 cranks, I think, is what it was. Y'all see it in the clip before this or after this, depending on how I edit it. And then she kind of hesitate getting that air out of the injectors, but then it fired right up. And we're pretty sure, almost positive, if we would have done this first, there's no need for starting fluid, which I hate using starting fluid on a diesel because you're just asking for it. But that's why I didn't do it. Let the old man do it. So he blows it up. He's gonna be help fixing it right here on the side of the house. If I blow it up, he'd be like, "Yep, you fucked that up, didn't you?" So, yeah, guys. We'll do a whole video on that, on his truck, and test the theory, but turkey baster and some diesel fuel. Let's see. Let's see how she restarts. Gotta get tools out of here and everything else. Make sure you ain't got no lights. Always like to let the gauges sweep. Ooh, she purring like a kitten. Oh, she purring good, boys. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and we'll catch you on the next one.